When you think of the Great Wall of China, what comes to mind? Probably a giant stone barrier, right? Well, today we're going to see it's so much more than that. This isn't just a wall, it's an epic story written in earth and stone right across the Chinese landscape. So yeah, let's get into it.
First, you just have to wrap your head around the sheer scale. We're talking 13,000 miles. To put that in perspective, that's more than halfway around the entire planet. It's a number so big it's almost impossible to picture, but it really sets the stage for what we're dealing with here.
You know, there's this quote that just absolutely nails it. It calls the wall a dragon of earth and stone, and that's perfect, isn't it? It's not some straight, boring line. It coils over mountains and dips into valleys like a mythical creature, like something alive. It's a really powerful way to think about it.
So where did this giant dragon even come from? Well, you have to understand the Great Wall didn't just pop into existence one day. Its story starts out much, much smaller, with a bunch of separate pieces that would eventually get forged into one single, massive defense.
Way back, before China was even a unified country, you had all these individual feudal states, and they were building their own little walls out of packed-down earth. They had two reasons, really. One, to defend against each other, and two, to keep out nomadic raiders from the north. These were the humble beginnings, the first baby steps, of what would become the Great Wall.
And this is where things really start to pick up. The big moment comes in 221 BCE. Emperor Qin Shi Huang finally unifies China. Now he looks at his new empire. He's got the Tibetan Plateau to one side, the Pacific Ocean on the other. Those are great natural barriers, but the north, that's his weak spot. So he gives the order, connect all those existing walls, beef them up, and create the first real unified line of defense. And after him, the Han Dynasty took that idea and just ran with it, extending the wall like crazy. And with that big unification project, it finally got a proper name, the Long Wall. See, it wasn't just a random collection of mounds anymore. It was one single gigantic project with a clear goal, stretching all the way from Lintao to Liaodong. This is really the moment the wall became a symbol of the empire itself. But here's the thing. You don't build something on this scale without a cost. And in the case of the Great Wall, that cost was just immense. It was paid in human sweat and blood and lives. Behind this incredible achievement is a really dark story of suffering. So who were the poor souls tasked with this unbelievable job? Well, you had soldiers, of course. But a huge chunk of the workforce was made up of peasants, just regular farmers who were forcibly conscripted, basically ripped from their homes. And then you had criminals, serving out their sentences with back-breaking labor. For most of these people, this was not a choice.
The work was so dangerous and so deadly that the wall got a pretty grim reputation. All these legends and poems started popping up, telling stories of workers being literally buried inside the wall they were building. It actually became known in folklore as the longest cemetery on Earth.
Okay, so let's look at the facts. Archaeologists have studied the wall pretty extensively, and the story about bodies being mixed into the mortar, that's a myth. No remains have ever been found inside the structure, but the reality is just as tragic. They've found massive grave pits right next to the wall, proving that countless workers died from accidents, from starvation, and from just pure exhaustion. Okay, let's jump forward in time, hundreds of years, to the Ming Dynasty. This is when the Great Wall gets its most famous makeover. This is when it becomes that iconic stone fortress that we all picture in our minds today.
The Ming rulers were smart. They didn't start from scratch. They took the old earthen foundations and launched this massive project to reinforce them. And the big game changer? They used bricks and stone from local kilns. This made the wall way stronger, taller, about 23 feet high on average, and just so much more durable than the old packed earth versions.
But the Ming Wall wasn't just a big dumb barrier. It was smart. It was a highly sophisticated communication network, kind of like an ancient information highway. You see these watchtowers all along its length? If a guard in one tower spotted raiders, they'd let a signal fire. That smoke signal would be seen by the next tower, who'd light their own fire, and so on. The message would travel down the line at incredible speed, letting the army know exactly where to send reinforcements. Pretty genius, right? So after all that, centuries of building, incredible engineering, so much human sacrifice, did it actually work? Was it worth it? Well, the answer is, it's complicated. Because for all its might, the wall was not invisible. History shows us two huge failures.
First, in the 13th century, Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes basically just went around it. They didn't need to smash through it. They just found the gaps and exploited them. Then, in 1644, the Ming dynasty itself fell when a rebel general literally opened the gates and let the Manchu invaders in. In a crazy twist of irony, China was now being ruled by the very people the wall was built to keep out.
So now, under the new Qing dynasty, the empire's borders actually stretched way up into Mongolia. All of a sudden, the Great Wall wasn't on the frontier anymore. It was deep inside their own territory. It completely lost its military purpose. And without anyone maintaining it, it just started to crumble. The old earthen parts eroded, and people even started stealing the bricks and stones to build their own houses.
But the wall's story was not over, not by a long shot. After falling apart for centuries, it was about to be reborn in the modern age with a completely new job, transforming from a military defense into a global cultural destination. It actually had one last military moment during World War II, when Chinese forces used it for defense against the Japanese invasion. But its modern identity was really sealed in 1987 when it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The ultimate irony is that this structure, built to keep people out, now welcomes millions of visitors every single year. And that, of course, has created a whole new threat: damage from tourism.
All right, this brings us to the most famous claim about the Great Wall, the one you've probably heard a million times. Is it really the only man-made structure you can see from space? Well, let's just settle this once and for all. The answer is a hard no. It's a total myth. From low Earth orbit, you can barely make it out, but you can also see lots of other things like highways and airports. And seeing it from the moon? Absolutely no chance. It's a fantastic story, but that's all it is, a story.
And honestly, that's okay, because the real story of the Great Wall is so much more incredible than any myth. Its true power isn't about being seen from space. It's about its amazing, complicated, and often brutal history that we can learn about right here on the ground.
And get this, that story is still being written. Archaeologists are still discovering new, hidden sections of the wall today, branching off the main path. Which really just leaves you with one final fascinating question. What other secrets is this ancient stone dragon still hiding?